My beloved child, stop scrolling right now, because what you are about to hear is not random. This message found you for a reason, and deep inside, you already feel that something is not right. Something has been interfering with your connection, something you couldn't explain. But today, everything becomes clear. There have been moments when you felt a sudden pull towards someone. A strange emotional connection that didn't make sense. Times when your heart felt full without a reason, and then suddenly heavy without warning. Like something was trying to connect. And something else was silently breaking that connection at the same time. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself it's just overthinking. Just emotions. Just timing. But the pattern kept repeating. Almost like every time things were about to align, something stepped in and disrupted it. And here is the truth you were not ready to see before. This interference is not coming from far away. It's not some unknown force. It's coming from someone close to you. Someone you see, someone you trust, someone who knows more about your life than they should. This is why it has been so hard to notice. Because you never thought to look there. This person may smile with you, talk normally, support you on the surface. But deep inside, there is something unsettled. Something that reacts every time your life starts moving towards something meaningful. Especially when it comes to love. It may not even be intentional all the time. But their energy carries doubt, fear, jealousy, or control. And that energy has been affecting you more than you realize. Think about it. How many times were you about to take a step and suddenly felt unsure? How many times did you feel like reaching out, but something held you back? How many times did things almost happen, but then stopped at the last second? That is not coincidence. That is a pattern. And patterns always reveal hidden truth. There were moments when your soulmate felt close. Almost like they were about to enter your life fully. And then suddenly distance appeared again. Silence. Confusion. Missed timing. You blamed circumstances. But now you see. Something was quietly standing in between. This is not about fear. This is about awareness. Because the moment you see clearly, the moment you understand what's been happening, that interference loses its power. You don't need to confront anyone. You don't need to create conflict. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to protect your energy. Stop sharing everything with everyone. Not every person around you is meant to know your feelings, your plans, your connections. Some people listen, but not with pure intentions. And once you start moving in silence, once you stop giving access to your inner world so easily, everything begins to shift. You will feel it. Clarity will replace confusion. Peace will replace overthinking. And most importantly, your connection will start flowing again. Because it was never truly broken. Only delayed. And delays happen when you are being prepared to see what you couldn't see before. Now you are aware. Now you are stronger. Now you are no longer easily influenced by outside energy. This is where everything changes. From this moment forward, trust your instincts more than opinions. If something feels off, it is off. If someone's presence creates doubt inside you, pay attention. Your intuition has been trying to guide you all along. You just needed this moment to finally listen. And as you step into this awareness, something powerful begins to happen. The block starts to fade. The confusion starts to disappear. And the connection that once felt distant slowly starts coming back into alignment. Not because something new is happening, but because what was hidden is no longer controlling you. This is your shift. This is your clarity. And this is the moment where everything begins to move the way it was always meant to. Because what is meant for you will never be destroyed. It can only be delayed until you are ready to receive it without interference. And now, you are ready. What you're about to hear now goes deeper than you expected. Because once awareness begins, hidden layers start revealing themselves one by one. And this is the part most people ignore. The part where truth becomes uncomfortable. Because it forces you to look at things you once trusted without question. You may have already started thinking about certain moments, certain conversations, certain reactions from people around you that didn't sit right, but you brushed them off. You told yourself you were overthinking. But now those same moments feel different. Almost like they were signals you didn't decode at the time. There is a reason for that. Because when something is close to you, when it's part of your daily life, your mind doesn't question it easily. It accepts it as normal. Even when your intuition quietly tries to warn you. And that's exactly how this interference stayed hidden for so long. It didn't come as an obvious attack. It came as subtle influence. Small doubts planted at the right time. Slight negativity disguised as concern. Questions that made you second-guess your own feelings. And slowly, without you realizing it, your confidence in that soulmate connection started weakening. Not completely, but just enough to delay it. This person, this energy around you, learned your patterns. They noticed when you were emotionally open, when you were excited about someone, when you felt something real forming. And that's when their behavior would shift. Not in a way that looked obvious, but in a way that created just enough imbalance inside you. Sometimes through words, sometimes through silence, sometimes just through a change in energy that made you feel uneasy without knowing why. And the most powerful part of this interference was this. It made you doubt yourself. Not them. Yourself. You started questioning your own feelings, your own instincts, your own sense of timing. And once that doubt entered, everything slowed down. Because a connection like yours doesn't break easily, but it does react to energy. And doubt is one of the strongest blocks it can face. But now something is different. You're not in that same unaware state anymore. You're starting to see the pattern. And once the pattern is seen, it cannot control you the same way again. This is where your power returns. Because now you can observe instead of absorb. You can notice instead of blindly trusting. You can protect your energy instead of letting it be influenced. And when you shift like this, something unexpected happens. The person who was interfering, consciously or unconsciously, starts losing their hold. Their words don't affect you the same way. Their presence doesn't create the same confusion. Their influence weakens. Not because they changed, but because you did. And this shift, this inner change, sends a signal, not just to your environment, but to your soulmate. Because that connection has always been there, waiting, adjusting, trying to align with you. And now, as your energy becomes clearer, stronger, more protected, that connection begins to respond. You may start noticing small changes, unexpected thoughts about them, dreams that feel more vivid, moments where you feel their presence stronger than before. This is not random. This is alignment beginning to restore itself. But here is something you must understand clearly. This phase requires silence. Not fear. Not isolation. But intentional silence. You don't need to announce your realizations. You don't need to explain your distance. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The more quietly you move, the more clearly things will unfold. Because when you stop giving access to your inner world, the interference loses its entry point. And without that access, it cannot affect what it used to. This is how you regain control. Not by fighting, but by becoming aware and moving differently. And as this continues, something else will happen. The truth about that person, or those energies, will become more visible. Not because you go looking for it, but because clarity reveals what confusion once hid. You will start noticing things you missed before. Patterns in their behavior. Timing of their words. The way they react when your life moves forward. And everything will begin to make sense. Not in a shocking, dramatic way, but in a quiet, undeniable understanding. And once you reach that point, there is no going back to confusion again. Because you will see clearly. You will feel clearly. And most importantly, you will choose differently. This is where your path truly shifts. Because now, you are no longer reacting to hidden influence. You are moving with awareness, with control, with alignment. And that is exactly what your connection needed all along. Not force, not chase, not urgency, but clarity. And now that clarity is here. Everything that once felt blocked begins to open. Slowly, naturally, powerfully. Because what belongs in your life does not disappear. It waits until you are ready to receive it without interference. And now, you are closer than ever to that moment. Now listen carefully. Because this is the part where everything either comes together or slips away again. This is the turning point most people don't even realize they've reached. Because once awareness comes, you are tested, not by others, but by your own choices. You now see more than you did before. You feel more than you allowed yourself to feel. And with that clarity comes responsibility. The responsibility to not fall back into the same patterns that once kept you stuck. Because the truth is, the interference didn't just work because of someone else. It worked because access was given. Not intentionally, but unknowingly. Through openness without protection. Through trust without awareness. Through sharing without boundaries. And now that you know, you cannot move the same way again. This is where your strength is being built. Not in loud actions. Not in dramatic changes. But in quiet decisions. What you choose to share. What you choose to keep to yourself. Who you allow close to your energy. And who you slowly create distance from without needing to explain anything. Because not every distance needs a reason spoken out loud. Some distances are understood only by the soul. You may already feel it. A natural pull to step back from certain conversations. Certain people. Certain situations that once felt normal, but now feel heavy or unnecessary. That feeling is not random. That is alignment guiding you. And the more you listen to it, the stronger your path becomes. But here is where many people make a mistake. They feel this shift. And then they get impatient. They expect everything to suddenly fix itself overnight. They expect the soulmate to appear instantly. To communicate immediately. To close the gap all at once. But real alignment doesn't rush. It unfolds. It builds. It strengthens silently before it becomes visible. Your connection is not returning in chaos. It is returning in stability. And that takes a different kind of patience. A calm patience. Not forced. Not desperate. But certain. Because deep inside, you now know something is changing. You don't feel that same confusion anymore. You don't feel that same emotional noise. Instead, there is a quiet clarity. A steady feeling that something is aligning behind the scenes. And that is exactly what is happening. Your soulmate is also going through a shift. They may not understand it fully yet, but they are feeling it. They are becoming more aware, more ready, more aligned with the same frequency that you are stepping into. This is why you might start noticing strange timing. Thinking about them at the exact moment they are thinking about you. Feeling their presence without any physical reason. Or even seeing signs that remind you of them repeatedly. This is not coincidence. This is connection rebuilding itself without interference. But here is the most important part you must not ignore. Do not go back to the same openness that once created imbalance. This time, move with awareness. Move with intention. Protect what you feel until it becomes strong enough to stand without being affected by outside energy. Because when something is still forming, it is sensitive. And sensitivity requires protection, not exposure. You don't need validation from others for what you feel. You don't need approval for what is meant for you. The more you keep it within, the more powerful it becomes. And as you continue like this, something powerful will happen. The interference that once felt strong will feel distant, almost irrelevant, like something that used to affect you, but no longer does. And at that point, you will fully understand. It was never stronger than you. It only seemed that way when you were unaware. Now you are aware. Now you are steady. Now you are in control of your own energy. And this is where your connection finally reaches the stage it was always meant to reach. Not blocked. Not delayed. Not confused. But clear. Aligned. And ready. Because what is meant for you does not fight against you. It flows toward you when the path is clear. And now, the path is clearing. Step by step. Without force. Without fear. Without interference. This is your moment of alignment. This is your shift into something real. And very soon, sooner than you expect, what once felt distant will no longer feel out of reach. It will feel present. It will feel certain. It will feel exactly the way it was always meant to feel. And when that moment arrives, you will realize nothing was lost. It was only being protected until you were ready to receive it the right way. This is where everything settles into place. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with a quiet certainty that you can finally trust. Because now you see clearly. You feel clearly. And most importantly, you are no longer easily shaken by what once confused you. The interference that once felt powerful has lost its grip. Not because it disappeared on its own, but because you stopped feeding it your energy, your attention, and your openness without awareness. And that changed everything. You've become more still, more focused, more protective of what truly matters. And in that stillness, something beautiful begins to unfold. The connection that once felt blocked now starts to move naturally. Without force. Without overthinking. Without that constant push and pull. It feels calmer. Stronger. More real. Because it is no longer being influenced by what doesn't belong. This is your new phase, where you trust your intuition without questioning it, where you move in silence instead of explaining yourself, where you protect your peace instead of trying to fix everything around you. And as you continue like this, everything that is meant for you will come closer. Not by chasing it, but by aligning with it. Remember this: what is truly yours cannot be taken away. It can only be delayed until the moment you are strong enough to receive it without confusion. And now, you are in that moment. So don't rush. Don't doubt. Don't look back at what once distracted you. Just stay steady. Stay aware. And allow things to unfold the way they are meant to. Because your path is clear now. And what is coming next will not miss you this time.